We're back. How's everybody doing? Short afternoon. I think it was like 3 hours, I want to say, more or less. I don't know if Courtney's in the chat or not. She says, give me a minute. I gotta fucking hydrate. So she's gonna fucking hydrate. And I'm gonna say hi to everybody. Sound is great. Awesome. Cool. I feel like there's probably a lot of millennials in here that got sent way back with our new intro that I chose for no reason in particular. So how's everybody's afternoon been? Boomer. We love boomers too. So we have 12 pages of notes from Courtney from Yellow Jacket, our hero, our heroine. I don't know what a Xennial is. Hey, Tech Death. I believe that. Okay. So the most surprising thing that I heard today from Courtney is that Judge Gull was in a pleasant, cordial, reasonable mood, that she was nice to everybody. She wasn't rolling her eyes or scoffing or whatever, which is awesome. We love that. Hey, Michael. I have to sneeze. It is weird, right? I thought it was pretty weird. Okay, I didn't mean to pin that one, Luke, but that's funny. Okay, I want to pin it again. That's funny. Get me in trouble. Okay. Hi, T. So we're going to pull up Courtney's notes, and if she's listening, she can help me decipher them. Shout out to DB for scanning them. Here we go. Explain yourself, Luke. You've got some splaining to do. All right. Welcome back, Bonnie. It's all love here. No fighting because we just pretend it's not happening. All right. So this was our motion to dismiss. I think these pages are in order. Yes, they are. Can everyone hear me okay? I got a lot of comments last time that my audio was really bad, which I don't know. Not on here, Ange. Awesome. Love that. All right. I don't know what I'm reading. DB, what do you think this first page is? It's kind of cut off on my. Is this just like scribbled before the hearings start, or am I missing a page? Turn up your volume. You can ask Bob to lower his volume on my behalf, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'll try and scream. It's just scribbles. Okay. Yeah, I can be louder. We know this. All right. So I assume this is, who's speaking here? This is going to be a disaster. I'm so sorry, guys. Courtney's nowhere in sight. DB is occupado. So before we do that, I'm noticing things ad-libbed in, I'd like to admit a few exhibits. So these are exhibits that somebody is admitting. Probably Nick. Nick, okay, thank you. Oh, it says Nick. So he's admitting exhibits. Exhibit 2, supplemental report from Detective Vito. An attachment is what Jennifer was looking for. A discovery. So he's trying to, I guess, like, show proof that he did turn things over. Baddie, defense baddie, Jennifer says, super kind of Nick to find that on his lunch hour. And Gull appreciates their help as fact finder. She's appreciative, which is nice. That's new. Baldwin presents documents to Judge Gull. These are emails between, Abbott. So Abbott, I think, was the FBI. I hope Yellow Jacket will join when able. I hope she will too. I think she will. She's hydrating right now. So Abbott was, I believe, an FBI early on. So Baldwin is presenting emails between Abbott and Carter concerning early developments in the case. On page 4 of an email from Massa, who is also the FBI agent. Y'all probably remember him from the press conference, like the very first one they did. He was the one that came forward and was talking about how, you know, if you know somebody who missed work, if somebody's traveling, if somebody started drinking, like the behavioral things to look for. Thank you, DB. Among your friends and family and peers and people. Okay. Suspect being worked hard, connected to Brad Holder, another suspect, crime scene photos, victimology, behavioral analysis unit is a must. Pagan rituals, stick placements on girls. I believe this is communication between Abbott and Carter, right? I think so. After working straight through, we've exhausted every lead and tool available. Okay. Yellow's going to go through that when she gets here because I'm going to just keep watching it. So Exhibit F is a list of all of the phone extractions received, picking up from last hearing. Max plops down a massive file. Oops. I got it. Okay. So this is a slideshow that the state has requested to exclude, and they included that in their motion in limine. It's a PowerPoint, I believe. All right, page 2. 2 stacks of paper, 12 inches tall each, represents law enforcement phone extractions from State's Exhibit F. That's a lot of phone extractions. So, like, a lot. Exhibit G. I can't fucking read your handwriting, Courtney. I'm thinking I might need to just wait until she's ready, y'all, because I don't want to ruin her hard work by just getting it wrong. And I think I'd rather her explain it. Or I can keep powering through. Either way. I mean, it's better handwriting than I have, but this is memorialized contents of a taped over video. Okay. Focus on part where Holder states that he never met Abby. So on 217, Brad Holder states he never met Abby. To Special Agent Adam Pohl. There's that name. Next, play a video of Brad Holder's interview on August 2023. So over 5 years later. How did you become involved with the Delphi case? I think Abby can't remember if. Okay, so this was what Courtney was saying. So when Holder was interviewed, I guess in 2023, they showed that video in the afternoon hearing, and he again kind of wavered about whether he had met either of the girls before. And here it looks like he can't remember if Abby or Libby was dating his son, Logan, which is weird. He was 13. They had a couple of supervised visits. I was there once. That's 2023. Okay. May 2nd, 2024, Brad Holder is deposed. They asked him, how many times have you met Abby? He said just those 2 times for about 30 minutes to an hour. Once at Pat Westfall's house, and then they were at a park. I think Pat Westfall saw her too. I don't know. Brad Holder says they were in view. So it's like a chaperoned visit. Okay, then they admit Defense Exhibit I and J. Oops. Thank God. Hey, friend. You gonna help me?
I can even read.
Can't even fucking read. You want to take it? I'm having a hard time reading handwriting. It's beautiful handwriting.
Yeah, it looks like it says BH says I did it. I'm a. I'll just get. Yeah, I think you got it right on that. The 5-2 note. Once at Patrick Westfall's, they were at the park. I think Patrick Westfall showed her 2. I'm not sure, or I don't know. BH says that they were in view.
Right. Which is, yeah, that's different. That's like a very different story than he initially told them, right? So what, he's been interviewed 3 times at this point then? Right? So in 2017, and then he's deposed in 2023, and then he's deposed again in 2024, right? Am I understanding that?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
Okay. All right. So Nick and Sam are mulling over something at the state's table, and then to the judge, Nick asks if they'll be under seal, whatever they're looking at. Andy Baldwin says, I'm okay with that. So something is admitted under seal. You don't know what. Andy Baldwin pulls up Brad Holder's Facebook picture blown up on an easel. This is Exhibit K.
Can you go to the next page?
Oh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is a side-by-side of the photo of Abby, I imagine deceased, with the sticks on top of her, and then the other photo would be Brad Holder's hand with the rune drawn on it. And then Exhibit L, Abby and Brad Holder painting 1 year later. So that's probably a lot of people have seen that painting that Brad Holder did and posted on Facebook of like the hanging man upside down, which they're saying is similar to how Abby was found. The state objects to something, I think to the photo or to the painting due to lack of foundation.
Yep, I think that's what it says too.
Okay. And then someone calls detective or officer Purdy.
That's what they call me. Yeah, that's Detective Roland Purdy with ISP, I believe.
Thank you, sir. So Purdy is now, I guess, on the stand. Brad Holder had been, quote, cleared, but Purdy says, I followed up on tips and on his Facebook. Andy Baldwin shows Purdy something that he hasn't seen. And then Baldwin hands Exhibit J, which is the picture of Libby and Brad Holder's Facebook pic. He saw them at the deposition, but he didn't see the hanging man one. Okay. So he's seeing some of these things, I guess, for the first time. And then in reference to, this is Luttrell now. So this is now the state, I guess, cross-examining him. In reference to Purdy, he confirms that he saw it on Brad Holder's Facebook in 2012 when it was posted. Luttrell has some outside the scope questions, and then Purdy can go.
It says in reference to Jay Purdy, I believe the ISP officer's name is Roland Purdy. I could be wrong. I think there is another Purdy involved somewhere.
Okay.
But it seems as though this is a detective of some sort, and he's testifying to something he's seen on the Facebook. So I don't think it's a witness or a civilian. So I do believe they're still talking about a detective here.
So
and I'm very interested in hearing kind of the nuance of Luttrell's cross-examination, because we haven't seen him speak much, or haven't heard about him at least speaking much in court. So I'd be interested to hear about his style and everything.
Style. So another Purdy, but probably like an officer or a detective, right? Is what we're thinking.
Yeah.
So he was working from March 2017 to March 2018. He was working on the Delphi case. And before that, he was a detective with ISP and an FBI task force investigator. He interviewed Brad Holder in Logansport. Okay, that's helpful. But not as a suspect, rather as an Odinist expert. Interesting.
Yeah, what the fuck? Like, I don't.
So, okay. I have questions about that, Courtney. So Brad Holder is interviewed in Logansport by this Purdy feller, but he's not interviewed so he's interviewed as an Odinist expert. Nothing he showed shed light. There was no report and no recording. And Courtney says, what the fuck did they need an Odinist expert for? Unrelated to Delphi, because he was cleared. That's odd. What do you think about that?
I think that is odd too.
Okay.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I'm looking at the memorandum in support of motion that was filed September 18, 2023.
Right.
And it talks about Purdy.
Yeah.
And it just says a trooper. Yeah. Who's got a scribed account? I don't know. Never mind. I'll just look at all these docs. I'll find it.
Okay, wait. So Brad Holder's a suspect.
Wait, is Brad Holder there with you? Is that
he's here. He objects. He wants to clear. He wants to state something for the record. I told him he could do it after. So
very good, very well.
Baldwin then says, you should have written a report. I think that's fair. Trooper Purdy reviewed Brad Holder's social media, and he did his second interview in 2017 in Logansport. Meow, did you see the part where he was not interviewed as a suspect, rather as an Odinist expert, according to this? That's weird. Okay. Baldwin says, you should have written a report. Purdy says, Not one concerning that subject matter. Baldwin said, you should have recorded it. And Courtney writes, nah, not necessarily. So Becky Patty first told him, I think means Purdy, that Brad Holder was an Odinist. Also talked to Tony, ISP, Beverly Shores, another Indy officer, an Odinist, something. So Purdy doesn't recall Brad Holder talking to him about Pat Westfall, although he does know of Pat Westfall. Brad Holder says he did talk to Purdy about Pat Westfall. This is why recording our interviews is helpful. And this is part of Purdy's deposition, and this is from the Franks memo, right, DB?
Yeah, this is, actually, it's the original action, so it might be similar, but it's in a footnote of page 18 of the original action. Or no, it's in page 18 of the records of proceeding. Sorry.
Okay.
Well, it just sounds like here, this is talking about Purdy, Roland Purdy, and he's saying that he believed that Holder was an Odinist. I believe it was a sheriff. I believe it was the sheriff. I can find out.
Okay, hold that thought, T. This is very strange to me. So, Andy Baldwin hands Purdy a picture of Brad Holder's hand rune 2 months after the murder, that was taken 2 months after the murder. And Purdy says, yes, that is similar to the, to Abby, how the sticks on Abby looked. Weird. Meow says, Odinism is very big in Cass County. I'm not sure his name.
No, the Cass County is Sheriff Schroeder, and his name does come up in here. He testified at the safekeeping hearing. He is the sheriff of Cass County. Obviously, that would make him in charge of the Cass County Jail as well.
Thank you. So this is still Andy questioning Purdy. He says, do you think...
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Full name, Andrew Schroeder.
Andrew Schroeder. So Andy says, do you think that he, meaning Brad Holder, should not have been cleared? And Purdy says, I trust them. I imagine meaning the task force, that if they cleared someone, yeah, he trusts that. He agrees, though, that the Brad Holder Facebook picture is weird. Indeed. Andy.
What does that mean? That's probable cause? It does weird mean probable cause?
I think so.
I mean, it depends. If you smell funny, if you smell weird like the wacky tobacco, and you're operating a vehicle, I think that's probable cause. But I don't know.
I think you're right.
The weirdness scale.
I wonder, they should have probed him about that. How weird is this weird?
Yeah, like what is the scale of weirdness?
Is it like Brad Holder shaving listening to gospel music, or is it like Brad Holder not remembering? I mean, there's a lot of I have some.
Or like DB saying that people wanted to wear your skin earlier in chat. Weird.
Or that. Yeah. It probably is. So do you think that, well, actually, let me wait to ask you that. So Andy shows him the painting of the tree, of the hangman. Brad Holder deposition. So circles at bottom of painting represent runes. They appear after he hung for 9 days per Brad Holder. And then, I don't know what he means. Oh, that's an exhibit, sorry. So he shows him the meme from Brad Holder's. So these are like Brad Holder's Facebook posts. So there's the friends help me move a body meme. He hands Judge Gull a picture of the F tree from the crime scene. And a stick formation from Brad Holder that looks like the F. And then a picture of Brad Holder a picture of a pagan ceremony in Fort Wayne where Pat Westfall is touching a tree. Asks Judge Gold to consider the Franks 2, 3, and 4. She says she will consider them, but notes that 1 and 2 were denied. Okay, well,
I will consider they were denied already, so nice try.
Well, so incorporating the first and the second and the third and the fourth then could be like a workaround, right?
Well, yeah, it's like tipping the scales. You're putting more and more on it, even though it was denied initially, just based off of the 1 and then the 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That there could be more information that could tip the scales enough to get a hearing.
I hope so. Okay. Kevin Murphy. DB, can you tell us who Kevin Murphy is?
He's ISP detective that was part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force.
Thank you, sir.
So he's with he rolls with Click, and formerly rolled with Detective Ferenczi.
Right. So he's part of the investigating the Odinist crew.
Yeah. Well, I think they were just investigating the crew, and Odinist happened to pop right out.
Right. You couldn't miss it. So he's a cop in something, Indiana. He worked courthouse security before becoming an officer. He was with ISP from 2004 until he retired. He has no write-ups, no misconduct, much to Nick McClelland's dismay.
Wait a second. Well, hold up.
Yes.
He retired? So this is, I didn't know that. I thought he was one of the only active people in that group. So he started with the ISP in 2004 and he retired. So he did his 20 years. So if you compare Purdy's statement, I think that is a pretty standard statement when it comes to a law enforcement agency saying, hey, these guys, I trust them. They were cleared. They said they were cleared.
Right.
Murphy does kind of take a little bit of a different approach to that. He doesn't say that he doesn't believe Holman, but he certainly doesn't tote the company line like Roland does. And I thought Murphy was going to be still ISP, so he was going to maybe not be so worried about testifying and indulging the jury with what he really knew. Not that I would say that he would lie or anything. It's just the pressure of being close to retirement and having that weighing on you when you have a whole systemic issue in law enforcement with people talking about the thin blue line and everything. So
do you think him being retired would make him more or less, I don't want to say truthful, but like, how do you think his retirement will impact his testimony or participation?
Well, I think even you and I on another channel that's changed. We in the past talked about the ranks closing behind people that are dissenting or just have a different opinion,
right?
And so I think that there's always that pressure there. I don't think that he's going to be necessarily more honest because he's retired. I think he's going to most likely be honest no matter what. It's just about the stress and the other factors that weigh on somebody inside of an institution when they're going to be a whistleblower, or not even to that level, just not giving an F about Holman's dirty looks or Carter's dirty looks when he's on the stand, Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Murphy was made aware of the Delphi murders and joined the investigation on 2/13. So I guess when they went missing is how I'm reading that. Offered help with the task force in wherever, Maryville. So, what? Did I do something? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if you want back in or not. I'm going to put you back in.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So Murphy met at the command center with Detective Liggett and then Detective Hammond. And then on October 1st, 2019, Murphy ceased working on the Delphi case. He knows Brad Holder as a subject of interest very early on, but not as a suspect in some circles, but was a suspect in his circle. That's interesting. That's an interesting statement. So, I mean, just obviously we know this already, but telegraphs the kind of the fracture or the lack of agreement among even like investigators about who and what and how to solve the crime.
Yeah, so there's a couple big cases like this that really capture law enforcement relationships and how inner circles can form. It's usually inter-department. There's a book called Green River Running Red and Lost Girls, which covers the Gilgo Beach case and the Green River case. And they talk about how different departments form different theories and their competing theories kind of get shoved up against each other. But I think it's interesting in this case about how they transcend across different agencies and departments, two different theories.
Yeah.
And he's a Lafayette guy, and so was Holman. So it's not like they didn't know each other and
Right.
didn't have interaction.
So they probably interacted relatively frequently.
Yeah, because Holman was for the majority of this case, he was a detective, right? So he wouldn't have been a supervisor yet.
Right. That's weird.
You ain't lying.
One of the questions I asked, oh my God, look who's here. There she is. Oh my God. Oh my God. Look at her.
Oh, I'm gonna shut the fuck up. You all got it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you look so cozy. Hi, Mom.
Yeah, sorry. I'm like perched up in bed. My feet hurt so bad. My little tootsers are barking.
Your tootsers are barking. How was your day, Mama?
Oh man, it was a long day.
Yeah.
It was a really long day. Are these my notes you got up here?
Yeah.
They're a wreck.
They're not terrible. They're not bad at all. They're great. It's just I was having some trouble deciphering them, but DB came in clutch and helped me. So
how do I stop seeing myself and just see what you're on the screen?
I don't know.
I don't either.
And if you can hide the views or change the views to only show content.
I just like half my screen is my head.
Ha 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 ha. Thank you.
No, still half my screen is me. Hold on.
Oh.
Go away. All right, whatever. You can put it back how it was.
I kind of like it this way, though. Ah! Don't like that. There we go. Okay.
All right, whatever.
Okay. So we are at the part where Kevin Murphy is talking about how he knows Brad Holder as a suspect of interest early on, but not as a suspect in certain circles, although he was a suspect in Currency, Click, and Murphy circle.
Hold on. Let me grab my notebook. Hold on.
Okay. Grab your notebook.
Nice try, Kate. Kale.
It was worth a shot. I agree with you, Kay. They didn't actually investigate these people. They just shit.
We're on Charlie Murphy. Kevin Murphy.
We're on Charlie Murphy, page 6.
All right. Have you gone over this yet?
We're halfway through, so we are at undeniable link. You can take it. Wait, no, we're at. He reported to Jay Harper. Take it away.
Yeah, things that I put in quotes and I underlined were like things that I was like, oh, like the way they said it really struck me as important. So he was asked, was Brad Holder ever considered a suspect? And he says he considered him a suspect based on their overall knowledge and their collaborative work between that team of 3 men. And they asked him, why? Why did y'all consider him a suspect? And he said, based on our work and our knowledge, there was an undeniable link between these 2 communities, talking about the Rushville crew and the Delphi murders. Which, when you have this guy up there on the stand for, motion to dismiss, obviously saying things like undeniable link is a very strong statement, in my opinion. Baldwin shows him a printout of his field notes, things that they notated that was in their investigation discovery. He said he would hand that over. He would communicate all of his work with Harper or Hammond. And he basically told them when he wanted to conduct an interview or do something else. He said they didn't sleep until the work was done when they were working on this between. So he basically started on the day the girls were missing. Is the day that his team first ever got involved. And then they seized their work on October 1st, 2019. Holman and Murphy interview. Yeah. And then February 2018, Holman and Murphy together interviewed Elvis Fields. Baldwin then kind of recapped the things that Elvis Fields said, notably the thing about when he went back to the car after the interview, after somebody, I guess it was Murphy that drove him home. And it's like, hey, dude, if you find my spit on the girls, but I can explain it away, am I in trouble? He went back and he told Jay Harper about that. Hello? Am I still here?
You're great. I'm taking the dog out really quick. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought I cut out.
No, you're good. I'll be back.
You want to go to the next page?
Yes.
Yeah, and somebody just cut me off if there's any questions or what I'm saying isn't making sense. All right, is this the next page? Let's see. Murphy was questioned a little bit more about what he learned about Elvis Fields, what was his assessment of him, what did he think about him, and he described Elvis as a follower. He liked to kind of like latch on to people and follow them and do a lot of copycat behavior, which we saw in some of the defense filings before about how Brad Holder would post a picture on Facebook and then Elvis would post a picture on Facebook, like trying to copy what he did because he thought it was cool. He specifically was like really focused on Brad Holder and Pat Westfall. And then Murphy was asked if they ever found a connection between Elvis and those people that he seemed to be following. And the answer was yes, Johnny Messer, which is, I think, similar to what we heard in Todd Click's transcript from the other motion to dismiss hearing. You have to remind me, I think it was Elvis lived with Johnny Messer's uncle at some point in time. Does that sound right? DB. Does that sound familiar? Anybody? Take that as a yes. Oh, this was something really interesting. Let me see if I can tell this story cohesively here. And I'll point out that during these hearings was something I was really surprised about, especially after reading through the other transcripts that we've seen, some of the transcripts that we got. I know Teresa with criminality has got a whole bunch of them. And it seems like there's just constant interruptions usually in these hearings. Somebody's always objecting, saying this. The judge is saying, you know, you're going to do an offer to prove because this doesn't make any sense. There was really none of that the entire day. Nobody was really interrupting or objecting to a lot. So I think I really did make a note of anytime somebody objected, because it was out of the ordinary. So Baldwin questions Murphy about an incident that took place during Holman and Murphy's depositions on August 10th, 2023. And if y'all remember, this is kind of just when a whole bunch of stuff was going down. All the really controversial depositions happened. It's when people like Holman and Liggett and all those types were first, I guess, made aware that the defense was pursuing this this angle with the Odinist crew, with Holder and all these guys. So the defense had just finished doing their deposition with Holman, and they had just dropped the 12-page Odin report that Murphy made on Holman at the very end of the deposition. And I guess it was a very tense interaction because Holman, I guess, didn't see that coming. So right after that, Holman leaves his deposition, walks out of the room with the copy of the 12-page Odin report in his hand. And then there was a commotion in the hallway. And Baldwin says, you know, Murphy, can you tell me about this commotion that happened during depositions? And Murphy says, yeah, I hadn't seen Holman in a really long time, like years maybe. So Holman's walking out down the hallway out of the room, and Murphy is coming the other way on his way to his deposition. Holman had a document in his hands. Murphy said he tried to reach out and give Jerry a hug, like, hey man, and Jerry just says, what the fuck is this? How the fuck did they get this? And he's waving the 12-page Odin report in Murphy's face. And that was a verbatim quote. What the fuck is this? How in the fuck did they get this? Nick objects to that, which was one of the only times he objected. He objects and he says, why is this relevant to the motion to dismiss? This isn't relevant. Why is this relevant? And Baldwin says that he's proving evidence was withheld and or destroyed, and it was exculpatory in nature. Nick keeps objecting that this isn't relevant and they haven't proven anything. At that point in time, Baldwin was done anyway, so he said, I'm done. And then Nick starts questioning Murphy a little bit. He says, did you ever talk to Brad Holder or look at his social media? Murphy says no. Could you place Elvis Fields or Brad Holder at the scene at the time of the murders? We'll get to that later. Murphy says no. Nick says, did you have anything to do with any of their interviews, talking about Holder and Elvis Fields? Murphy says no. You want to go forward, Angela? Angela, are you still there? Am I still there? Is anybody there? All right. Well, I'm just going to flip forward with my page, and when she comes back, we'll have her flip the page. All right, next. And Angela, if you're there, or you can flip the page, because this is where it starts getting interesting and people might want my sloppy notes to follow along. So next, the state, Nick, calls Jerry Holman to the stand. And based on what I've seen before, there was an audible shift in the room. You could hear everybody kind of just like adjusting in their seat. The room was very, very quiet. But when it says the state calls Jerry Holman to the stand, there was just this audible shifting around of bodies and papers, and like just everybody getting like really locked in on what was about to happen. So so Holman gets up on the stand, he gets sworn in, and Nick is talking to, or I'm sorry, Luttrell. Luttrell did most of the talking when witnesses were on the stand. He asked him regarding a phone extraction or exam. Did you do a phone extraction or exam of Brad Holder's phone? And Jerry says, I have no knowledge of that. He said, what about interviews in Logansport of Brad Holder? He says, again, I have no knowledge about that interview. I was on vacation, and then I was doing some training at Quantico for some FBI stuff. He's asked, based on the exam of Liberty German's phone, including the BG video and everything, and the crime scene evidence, can you tell us when and where the murders happened? Which, this is the thing I was saying, we'll get to that in a minute, because that's not how any of this works. We don't depend on investigators to look at cell phone data and crime scene evidence and videos they took to tell us what the time and date of death was. There's actually medical processes that happen for that. But again, like we've seen from depositions and we've seen in other filings, Jerry Holman did decide on a day and time of death based on cell phone data and crime scene evidence. And he says that happened on February 13th between 2:30 and 3:30, a 1-hour window, on Ron Logan's property. He was asked when the video of Bridge Guy was taken, and Jerry said he thinks somewhere around 2:17. Of course, we know everything we've seen that says exactly 2:13. And then Jerry just did what he does. He just kind of throws in for no reason. Yeah, that's when Richard Allen said down the hill. And I was just like, oh, come on, dude. Asking him more in regards to he says Brad Holder was at work 30 minutes away. And then he was at the gym. They obtained an email. He was shown an email that they received from Liberty Landfill where Brad Holder worked. And this email from Liberty Landfill showed his time card for that day. And then the gym that he says he was at later in the day emailed Holman I guess it's one of those gyms where you like swipe yourself in, you have like a membership card, or you sign in, or they log you in, whatever. Anyways, the gym has records of when he checked in. So his work records from that day, he clocked in at 4:55 a.m. He clocked out at 12:12 p.m. for lunch. He clocked back in at 12:42 p.m. and then he clocked back out for the day at 2:45 p.m. And then the gym has him clocked in at 4:08 p.m. And so he's saying we accounted for all of his time when the murders were occurring, but the little bubble down below is really just kind of like my thoughts based on what he just said, that 2:45 to 4:08 when the murders were occurring, according to him, is actually unaccounted for. His work is about 30 minutes away. So, I mean, I think the defense is saying, even if all of this is true, even if that is the time of death, which you can't prove, and even if he did clock out from work at that time, he could have been there at 3:15 p.m. and then checks in at the gym in Logansport at 4:08, almost an hour later. So my personal takeaway is that it's a tight window, but not as tight as the one they're trying to present for Richard Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, he's unaccounted for during the time of the murders. And technically, he could have been there in 30 minutes and still been there in the window when Jerry Holman alleges the murders were taking place, based on no medical pathological analysis whatsoever. That's just based on his assessment of crime scene evidence and digital data.
That's concerning.
Yeah.
That's pretty concerning. So,
yeah. I mean, the most concerning part is not really so much Brad Holder's work schedule and all that. Like, I mean, maybe that's all completely verifiable and that's fine. I mean, the more concerning part is just how confidently he sits up there telling us the day and time of death with using zero forensic pathology reports and autopsies and coroner data whatsoever. Like, it's not how any of this works.
and that's Nick, you mean?
That was Jerry Holman.
Holman. Got it. Sorry.
He determined the day and time the girls died.
Why is that not surprising to me? I like that you say per Jerry Holman for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to make it, I just was making a note that that was not based on any medical evidence whatsoever.
Like, still? Okay, I guess we'll get into that.
Yeah, you can go forward. This last part. This last part is a brief cross-exam of Holman by Baldwin. Baldwin seemed really over it, trying to ask Jerry like some really direct questions. Just because the answers he was getting in response, I don't know, the impression I got was that the defense found it very disingenuous. Like he was just kind of like answering in bad faith, like trolling almost. It's just, I feel like this guy's kind of trolling a little bit. Like he's just giving he's not lying per se. He's just saying his opinion, but it's just like, come on.
Right.
So Baldwin says, he mentions the 4:33 a.m. ping. That's, kind of been a really contentious thing. Liberty's phone not pinging since around 5 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. on the 13th, and then suddenly is back on the ping radar at 4:33 a.m. And Holman says, yeah, so actually what we think the phone was never off. We think the phone was still on at 4:33 a.m., we think. And he said, I just heard about that recently, actually. Apparently we figured that out with some new software. So this 4:33 a.m. ping was apparently new information to Jerry Holman based on some new software. And their takeaway was the phone was never turned off or out of tower range. And I mean, I wish Baldwin kind of would have pressed him on that a little bit more, but he didn't. Baldwin was just kind of like, okay, moving on. Then he says,
So when it comes to that, it sounds like Holman says the phone is still on at 4:30 a.m. We think we just heard about it recently, this new software, and Baldwin says,
that's exactly
well, I
how
knew
he-
about it last fall.
Yes, Baldwin says, I knew about it last fall.
So is he saying I knew that it existed last fall, but why didn't you guys give it to me last fall?
Both, I think.
Okay.
Or no, Baldwin was saying I knew about it last fall. So I mean, I guess
Okay.
Baldwin is saying he had something last fall that
Oh,
showed
like
33 a.m. ping. So he's like, Jerry, why
refreshing his
didn't you
memory.
know about this? I knew about it last fall. Why didn't you? Holman confirms he didn't know about it until very recently. And then Baldwin brings up a kid named Noah Dillman. And he says, I guess this was an ex-boyfriend of Abby's. And I mean, again, she was 13. So when I say ex-boyfriend, I'm using that very loosely. I guess this was like some boy at her school that was her boyfriend. Anyways, they extracted his phone. And then he says, was he dating Abby? Did he have a picture on his Facebook of a rune on his hand in the shape of the sticks, that were found on Abby? You could tell he was getting a little bit irritated. And then Baldwin, for the first time, mentions that y'all did phone extractions on 101 people. And most of them had absolutely no or very little connection to the crime or the victims. So he was just kind of pointing that out, like, you did it on this kid that Abby knew, that didn't have pictures of runes on his hands, and who wasn't dating Abby at the time she was killed. And you did it on all these other people that had little or no connection to the crime whatsoever. And then he changes the subject, and he is referencing the emails between Abbott and Carter. Abbott, that's Jay Abbott. Who's
Yeah,
Abbott?
the supervisory special agent of the Indianapolis field office for the FBI.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was about to ask. Who is he again? So the emails between Carter and Abbott, and he's saying, Baldwin is saying, these emails say Brad Holder is a suspect. That's what these emails say. And Holman says, yeah, I mean, in some circles.
What a douchebag. Sorry,
Uh,
I thought it was you.
and then he kind of says, I don't know what all, like he was kind of like alluding to, I don't know what all or how many phones were had extractions. He said the FBI always did that. So the FBI took phones, not us. I don't have any documentation of all the extractions they did.
That's troubling because he explains away why he didn't get the phone extractions for Logan Holder and Brad Holder, but it wouldn't even have been up to him. He wouldn't have had to do anything if they would have just gave the phones to the FBI. Like, what is the
Right.
expense of resources?
It's like very mixed messaging.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
like, oh, you had control to get this person's phone, but not those person's phones. Like it was, Baldwin just really didn't press him on it a lot. Like I felt like he was just kind of irritated about it because he just understood he was not going to get any kind of useful answer on the stand.
Yeah, like when you're trying to talk to someone and
they're just kind of sidestepping every question and changing the subject.
Yeah, it's just you're not going to get anywhere.
What was the reaction when he said that Richard Allen said down the hill? Did Baldwin or Rosie object?
No.
They weren't fazed by it?
No, it kind of made me go. It was just so, right. It was just very kind of inflammatory and unnecessary, Like there's no jury here. You don't have to say that kind of stuff for show. And the last thing he says he had no reason to take Brad Holder's phone. So it's just kind of double, triple, quadruples down on the belief that he was not a suspect to me. He has no involvement. We cleared him. He was at work at the time of the murders that I determined. I had no reason to keep investigating him or taking his phone. Maybe he was considered a suspect in some other circles, but not mine.
Well, that's an issue, obviously, but like specifically because Doug Carter said publicly that no one's been cleared. So you would think that Holman would be following the orders and have the same idea in mind, but that could just be chalked up to investigative strategy by Carter saying something publicly and not.
Well, sure. And especially when at that moment in time on February 17th, there's emails between Carter and Abbott. Let's see. The wording in that email, we got a little more information about what that email said. Maybe it's on. Okay, it might be upcoming. So then we took a recess, like a 15-minute recess. And we come back.
Hey, Angie, can you move ahead one slide or page? There we go.
And this was cool. I liked this part because it was kind of like closing arguments. So each side of counsel got a chance to just basically talk directly to the judge and just kind of put together a summary of why they feel the issues they've raised in the motion to dismiss or their objection to the motion to dismiss are really important. And I'll kind of go through some of the bullet points that Baldwin noted first. He brings up the mimicked crime scene picture from Holder's Facebook. He points out that Detective Purdy admits it's very similar to the real crime scene. He said if they were unable to locate it on their own, if they hadn't tracked down Ryan Boucher or whatever and located it on their own, nobody would ever know if it's useful. He said, when something is not provided, we have to take them at their word regarding whether it's evidence or discovery or exculpatory or not, because we can't be the judge of that. He again mentioned there was 101 people with phone extractions. 0 of them had weird shit on Facebook with sticks, runes, crime scene similarities, and none of them were the dad of a victim's boyfriend. He reminds the judge that Holder was in play on February 17th. The email, and this was the part, I guess it was the email between Carter and Abbott, email saying, whatever you need, use it. Baldwin said it only makes sense to get his phone.
What is your take on that? Whatever you need, use it. Is he saying, is Holder in play? Email says, so is that an Abbott to DC email or a DC to Abbott email?
Hold on. Let me, I guess maybe y'all already read through it. Because this email, there was things that they talked about that were in this email that we hadn't heard before.
I think it's your page 3 or no, it's your page 2. No, it's your. Which one is it?
Well, which one is it?
It's your first page. Page 1. Emails between Abbott and Carter concerning early developments.
Yes. So I wasn't for sure if this was communication between Carter and Abbott or an email from Massa or like Greg Massa, who was the FBI guy that was also there. He was at one of the press conferences. I think was he from BAU? Yeah, I think so.
Yes, he was, or he was there on behalf of BAU. I don't know if he was like an actual BAU guy, but he was talking about the BAU.
Yeah, I wasn't clear on who was saying what in these emails. It was just kind of, Baldwin handing these documents to Goal to review as an exhibit, and just kind of saying what the contents of this document is. This is an email from Massa. This is an email between Doug Carter and Jay Abbott. But somewhere in this email, I'm not for sure if Abbott said it or Massa said it. The email was sent February 17th at 7:02 p.m. Suspect 6, and I didn't note that on there. Suspect 6 is being worked hard. He is connected to Brad Holder, another suspect. Looking into the crime scene photos, the victimology, and getting the BAU report is a must. And then there was something in this email mentioned about pagan rituals, the stick placement on the girls. And then, yeah, based on these notes here later, somebody was saying, you have the full disposal, do what you need, run this thing dry. But we'd have to go back and reference I think maybe the Frank's memo to see when Holman started telling everybody Holder is cleared. I feel like that was also like the 16th or the 17th, right? And that's when they were saying no leads required, no leads required. So there's just a whole lot of mixed messaging going on here. Anyways, so Andy goes on in his motion to dismiss closing arguments. Again, saying it only made sense to get his phone and do an extraction on it. Like, why would you not do this? He kind of calls Holman out for, what I kind of consider was just trolling. Like, no, I didn't need it. I didn't want it. There's no reason to get it. He's not a suspect. Baldwin says, him saying that he had no reason to get it, it's just wrong. And you shouldn't trust anything this guy says, with all due respect.
Oh,
With
at
all
least he
due
said with all
respect,
due respect.
you shouldn't trust anything else this guy says after he said that. I was like, okay. Well, that's
Love
one way
that.
to put with all due respect in front of the statement. He goes through the list of things that they are missing or were destroyed or not ever done regarding Holder. And that list is actually, it's itemized in the original motion. And he tells the judge, this is what we're up against regarding Holman's just complete indifference to, very clear things he is saying that any reasonable person would say, sure, maybe this is not the guy, maybe he had nothing to do with it, but this is at least somebody you do your due diligence on, like this is at least somebody you do a phone extraction, maybe a search warrant. Like this is somebody you just go a little bit further than getting an email from their work with their time card, especially when you don't know the time of death. So Baldwin is just saying, this is what we're up against. Like he refuses to acknowledge that more should have been done with this guy. Or if it, and really like the takeaway I was getting is it almost seems like Baldwin thinks more was done with this guy. He's almost presenting it in a way that sounds like this is preposterous that they would not have followed. It's so preposterous, I don't believe it. Like, I think they did it, and I think they are intentionally withholding it from us or have destroyed it.
If you think about the first 3 days of the investigation, you have 2 people, or the 3 people, Logan Holder, Brad Holder, and Richard Allen. I think safe to say that if you're there or you say that you're at the bridge around the same time, you could be considered a suspect, of course. Then you have the Holder connection, and those are the 3 people that you did not get cell phone extractions from. And yet you got 101 of them.
Yeah. And it kind of started it started out where, in my head, I was thinking it was just kind of calling them out for not ever doing it. And their argument is, well, I didn't consider him a suspect. Why would I do it? I can't go back in time and do something I didn't want to do because it didn't matter, and it still doesn't matter. I don't care. And what I realized eventually was Baldwin was actually pointing out that this is so preposterous, it's impossible.
Well, that works when you knock over a couple central Indiana, cooks. That type of investigation works, but that doesn't last for a life sentence, 2 life without paroles, when we really know the level of scrutiny is going to be on something like this.
Yeah. And if y'all haven't pointed it out or seen it in my notes yet, I just want to say, because it was so surprising, anything I expected from Goal, just regarding her attitude, her behavior, just her overall disposition towards the defense and the things they were trying to talk about. I mean, she was nothing but, I would say, courteous, respectful, thoughtful. I mean, the whole time, Baldwin, Rosie, anybody is just going off on a soapbox about everything that Judge Gold has kind of really seemed to be irritated by in the past. These connections to Holder and this and grilling Holman. I mean, she just sat there just making eye contact, listening very intently, nodding that she's hearing what he was saying. And it was just not at all what I had expected based on what we've heard and seen in the past. So,
Are
that
you
was
a
a-
Judge Goldstein now?
I mean, she was a good, normal judge today.
Guys, they got her. They got her.
Like she didn't roll her eyes. She didn't cut anybody off.
Well, I would leave it up to you to know when somebody rolled their
sustained.
eyes. So
Yeah, she sustained one of Nick's objections, like just once. But I mean, she didn't cut them off, tell them to stop, didn't kind of do that. When I was reading through the old motion to dismiss transcripts, I mean, she seemed just very like, get to the point. What does this have to do with anything? This isn't relevant to what we're talking about here. And it seems like they just had a hard time even getting out what they had worked so hard to present that day. But I mean, he had the floor and he just got to talk, and she listened and nodded and thanked them for everything and said, I'll take it under advisement. We're almost done.
Weird.
Yeah, it was very weird.
Whatever. People can change and pull, so maybe.
Yeah. And there's like there's a lot. I mean, Baldwin went on for a long time. He said, we have a tall task to prove a phone dump existed. And this is kind of where it clicked to me that, oh, they're actually trying to prove that they did do an extraction of Holder's phone and they are intentionally withholding it. He said, we have a tall task to prove a phone dump existed.
well, back then, because they've done one in the meantime, right?
Of Holder's?
I believe so. The defense requested that they did it. I'll look in a motion for it.
I know there was one for, was it him or Westfall that had like the brand new or wiped phone? Maybe it was him. I don't remember.
Didn't they say Westfall, he had erased everything? Like they gave him a heads up that they were going to be, they invited him.
Yeah, I think it was Westfall.
Yeah, but his phone restarted. Like there was an update, doesn't mean that, right? It could have just updated and cleared itself, right?
Yeah. No. I don't think so. I can't tell.
No.
Catholic.
Huh.
So Baldwin continues, just kind of reiterating a lot of the missing stuff. He makes a point to say, the reason why I think this could be potentially useful, because I have to prove that to you, Judge. He said, for one, his first interview on February 17th, 2017, that was accidentally deleted. He's like, it's memorialized in this one-page report where he's clearly saying, I never met Abby. I don't know her. Never met her. And then he kind of plays dumb in his most recent interview, which we actually saw the video. Did you tell him we saw the video? We actually saw like a 1-minute clip of the video of Brad Holder being interviewed.
Did he make eye contact, or did he look away every now and then?
I was trying to watch and write at the same time. I don't know. I'll ask.
Did he look up and to the left?
I'll ask Bob again. I'll ask Bob again.
We should ask that behavioral. What's it called?
Never a true
Bob
word.
seemed like he was.
Let's ask him.
The video a little harder. I was like trying to look up, but also like scribble down every word being said. But he was like, I can't, just him be like, I can't remember which one it was. Like when he's interviewed again in 2020, after all he's been through, all the trolling he's done on social media, like you forgot if it was Abby or Libby, really? Like you forgot which one your son was.
Bullshit.
He's like, oh yeah, I can't remember. Was it Abby or Libby? I think it was Abby. I don't know. I always forget. Like, dude, no. You don't forget your 15-year-old son's girlfriend being murdered. You don't just forget what her name was. He pointed out that he consistently, and this is my paraphrasing, just kind of consistently lies, dupes, changes his story. And Baldwin says the intentionality is proved by Holman's refusal to be honest on the stand.
Well, him being honest, let's say that there's something there. Him being honest would make it so that his evidence would go away probably for this case. And it would point to serious issues. He can't.
He can't admit that this was exculpatory or that Brad Holder was
Exactly.
I mean, like, he literally can't say that because it validates everything the defense says.
Well, not even it is gonna, if it exists back then, it's definitely exculpatory. But he can't even say that he knew about it.
Sure. Just like and they've done this before.
Yeah.
Baldwin starts finishing up by really, really, really asking the judge to sit down and read very thoroughly the 12-page Odin report, which I realized we've seen a lot of the most important information that was in there. So all of the stuff that we saw in Frank's about what Elvis Field said to the cops when they dropped him off, and what Amber Holder told them about them being friends and something about a ritual in the woods gone bad. So a lot of the stuff that we saw in Frank's actually is pulled straight from that 12-page Odin report.
Yeah, so we don't have the full report, but
Right.
I'm not going to say who, but there is a creator that has gone through painstaking detail to reconstruct everything that was mentioned to be in the report and put it together in order, and hopefully they'll be releasing it soon. But I have seen it, or I have read it, and it's pretty comprehensive.
Sounds awesome. So he reminded Gold, please read that. Please read it again. Like, I know you hated the Franks. Please just read that 12-page report again. He reminded her to take into consideration how mad Holman was when they presented him with that Odin report at his deposition, and how he stormed out and threw it in his good friend's face that was trying to give him a hug because he hadn't seen him in so long, and he like shook it in his face and said, how in the fuck did they get this?
I missed that part, Yellow.
I know, you're out getting turds out of your dog or something.
Cooking in the sun.
I think that part. Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, you go.
No.
Oh, okay. I'll go. I think that part is super interesting because a lot of people will say, well, is there a conspiracy? Is the FBI working with the ISP? Like, is Holman a mastermind of a criminal enterprise? No, he's just sometimes police officers, detectives are assholes. And sometimes you don't want to confront that person or have that person even know that you're going to even give information to the defense, or even tell their supervisor maybe that they said something they shouldn't have on the job. It's that attitude and pressure over time that gets people to not want to speak out and not want to say something, not even speak out, just tell the truth, or just say, anything that could be seen in a bad light. Holman knew that was going to come out. It was going to be part of discovery. Why would he be so upset?
Did he know?
Well, he knew that it was that would be exculpatory. I mean, he knew it existed.
Right.
Did he know that it was going to come out for sure? Probably not. Like, he didn't know for sure that Murphy or Click was going to send it.
Right.
And I think the reason Click did that is because Murphy was still employed. I think that's another question I have for you too, Yellow, is I seen that it said that Murphy retired, but he retired this year, recently.
I don't know.
That's okay. That would be
I
just
think
something I
so.
thought was interesting.
He looked.
Yeah, you wrote it down.
He looks like.
Yeah.
He looked like an FBI agent from the movies. He looked like the guy who plays like the CIA director in like shows and stuff.
Clean cut, like a DB Cooper type of character.
Yeah, DB Cooper.
Okay.
He's just I mean, he was older. He's like real tall and thin, like clean bald head, but like super nice, like blue suit, tie, pins on his jacket. Just walked like he's had almost like that military walk about him. He looks like the guy who plays like the CIA director in movies.
Clean cut. Okay, so say he did 20 years with the ISP. He started in 2004. 20 years would be 2024. So I could see that maybe he did
I
retire
can see.
recently.
And then that makes sense.
You
And
wrote.
then,
But a lot of
go
a
ahead.
lot of times state troopers will or local police, they'll stay past the retirement date to build up the retirement system. A lot of states have the the top 3 retirement system. The higher you rank up, your top 3 base salary will be higher, and so they'll just keep working and working and working. And if they're not aged out, I don't think there's a mandatory 20-year retirement for ISP, but I could be wrong. So it's like, did he retire right at 20 years?
Maybe.
Yeah.
All right, you can go to the next page. I think it's the last one.
What? 12?
And so this top part is still Baldwin talking directly to Goal. And he got very passionate about bringing up Baston not making it to their original safekeeping hearing. And I know we've kind of debated back and forth, like which one of them's lying, because as a reminder, in Tobe Lesenby's report, they left Baston at Westville, did not bring him to the original safekeeping hearing because he was refusing. The guard calls Tobe to ask him what to do. Tobe says he called Judge Gull, and Gull advised them to leave him there. Don't force him to come. Just leave him there. You don't have to get him. Tobe made a report about all of this. Baston did not show up for their safekeeping hearing. They had nobody in their corner to verify that the claims they were making were true. Meanwhile, the warden gets to go up there and say everything they said is lies, and they don't have anybody to vouch for their claims. And he got very passionate about, and then Rick was left there in Westville. He was left there in Westville because our witness didn't show up, and they blamed you for it. And he was like, right at Judge Goal. They left him behind, and they blamed you for it. Because then in Judge Goal's recent thing that we saw, she said, I did not tell them to do that.
I had nothing to do with that.
I did not tell anybody not to bring him.
So maybe what's happened. Well, sorry. I'll let you finish yours.
No, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, like, this dynamic shifting. Perhaps, finally, not likely, but you never know. Perhaps, Goal is seeing some things. I think the the enemy here is not the attorneys that are being a pain in her ass, right? And I think she's seen it that way thus far. Like, God, these guys are a pain in my ass. Like, why can't they just like listen to what I say? And why do they have to? But I don't think that even the attorneys have encountered anything like this before. And I'm trying to give Goal the benefit of the doubt a little. And I just really don't think that anything that she, like, I've never subscribed to her being like in a conspiracy. I think she's just an egomaniac, but maybe like, I don't know, just Baldwin talking.
Maybe, I don't know if something happened. I don't know if they had to come to Jesus. I don't know if she had to come to Jesus. I don't know if she's just having a good day. I don't know it, but I mean, just.
Well, even Baldwin talking directly to her.
know her or know any history, like if this was just like a hearing I was watching with a case I didn't know and a judge I didn't know, I'd be like, she's really nice. Like she's very thoughtful. She's very respectful of them. She says thank you.
Did you make eye contact with her?
I don't know. Did she get me?
Mm,
I think she got
just wondering.
She gave you a lookie, is what we call that. She got you.
I mean, no, but everybody else agreed. I was making sure I'm not crazy. I'm like, she seems like really like fair and respectful and thoughtful today, right? And people were like, yeah, she's good.
I don't know. Maybe she's like, maybe she read something. Maybe she saw something. Maybe she realizes that, you know, she's hitching her wagon to the wrong horse.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe. Baldwin finished up by listing out all the amendment rights that are being violated. Goal seemed very thoughtful about it, just kind of listened to everything he said with her hand on her chin, just staring intently at him.
What did you do? Just like count to like 15?
Yeah, pretty much. He was like, and he just like, yeah, he just rolled out the entire list of amendments. Then Luttrell gets up there to make his final arguments. Again, I don't know why he's doing all the talking.
I have an idea of why.
Did you tell them about Nick's mustache?
Yeah, I showed everybody your notes. He has an unironically, what was it?
A thick, unironic mustache. It was just, I've just never seen him with a stash. It was funny. Anyways, he hardly did any talking today. Yeah, Luttrell actually did say more than no. I was just kind of over it, and like honestly, I mean, in my mind, you know, I'm probably a bit biased, but that really was the best summary. He spoke for about 1/4 of the time that Baldwin did. And it was just kind of very like bullet list, like just everything that Baldwin said, he was just like, and that is not true. And this just isn't a fact. And that just isn't true. So I mean, I wrote nuh-uh because he wasn't saying anything organic. It was just like, that's not true.
Is it a matter of type of prosecutor, it seemed like, and not trying to like be charismatic or connect with anybody, just kind of,
I guess, yeah, it was very
blah.
dry. It was very dry. The only statement he made towards the end that I wrote down is that he said, Your Honor, it's clear Brad Holder had no connection to this crime. Is it clear?
Wow. Unless they were like got some bombshell.
Yeah, and then he spit on Detective Murphy, and he spit on Purdy, and he just spit again. Like,
Oh, you spit on a grave too. Like, damn.
like,
It doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
So they got 100+ phone extraction data dump thingies, but they don't have them still, or they never got them for members of the household of the girls, at least one of the girls. They never got them for these, allegedly never got them for these not suspects. Like, it's almost, they never got them for the landowner. So it's almost like they intentionally avoided avenues that would yield anything fruitful and lead to,
Or alternatively, what Baldwin is actually presenting is that's so preposterous, I don't accept it. I think
Right.
it's being intentionally withheld.
right,
You know, and that may be Holder, and that may be a lot of other people. Like,
right.
it's kind of like, Your Honor, we don't even know what we don't have at this point. I just know that what he is saying is not in good faith and
Yeah.
can't be is not trustworthy, because this,
Like,
no investigator, like no sergeant, no lead investigator would look me in the face and tell me this. Like, that's not in good faith.
thank you, Rochelle. That was so nice.
Aw.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's preposterous. It has to be, right? Like, do you think that Gull is
It's
realizing
something I've never considered. I mean, I know, like, we've been banging the drum for so long about they ignored it. They just didn't do these things. They were so incompetent. They just refused to investigate. Obviously, they refused to investigate. And it never actually crossed my mind that maybe they did and are withholding it.
I don't know if you remember this. I've talked so much shit about the state in this case, but one of the things that I asked like early on was, and it might have been when they submitted like their first motion to compel or whatever, request for discovery or whatever it was that they submitted, the defense. And I remember being like, so clearly, like, you have to, I guess they have to ask for or like outline specifically discovery that they feel like they're entitled to. That, like, in what universe are we just kind of like trusting this prosecutor's office and this task force? We're like trusting them, leaving them to their own devices, that they can and will actually provide discovery at all. Like, we know them too well.
The consequences are so severe if you don't. I mean,
but who's going to find out?
Really big deal. But yeah, it's like,
well, the consequences there have been no consequences thus far for them. They've had zero.
I mean, there's been clear, instances presented of outright perjury and Brady violations. And I mean, they've asked for hearings on it and they get denied without hearing. So that is frustrating.
Hi, Tony. Courtney, look who's here.
Tony Baloney. Pony. That's what it was. I always remember Pony Chirico.
Do you think that didn't Nick suggest his sanction be a continuance?
The what?
Didn't Nick suggest that his sanction should be a continuance? I don't know if you're joking. I don't know.
I don't think that word was used. He just kind of acted like it wasn't a big deal.
Give me more. Yeah, my sanction. I guess you could like give me more time. Yeah. How in the world? Oops. Where is this? How in the world would you prove that they did a phone extraction of Brad Holder if they won't give it? Like, how do you prove a negative? Like, if something doesn't exist, how can you prove that it ever existed? Or like, how? It's maddening.
Not just their belief that it's so preposterous that they wouldn't investigate this guy. Brad Holder told them they took my phone. I think they took my phone. Pretty sure they took my phone. Like, Holder remembers I would not forget police taking my phone ever. Like, I would definitely not forget if that happened or not. If I handed my phone over to police investigating a murder, I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life. And
I can't get over. Sorry.
But then again, like, how much is Holder just like fooling with them? Like, is he just a troll? I mean, we saw how he behaved on social media over the years, putting on the BG hat and talking about Bigfoot and just kind of like yucking it up with the attention of people.
But what kind of a person does that, Courtney? DB, I'm not asking you. I'm asking Courtney.
Yeah, I know. Like, I know. I go around and around in circles about that same thing. It's like, is he just messing with them? Does he feel untouchable? Is it all a big joke to him?
Or is he just a weird guy?
Is he a weird guy?
I don't know.
Phone? So we've had him saying, I'm pretty sure they took my phone. I think they took my phone. And the defense saying, who the fuck is it? And the, state saying, we didn't. He's not a suspect. We don't care about him. Then you have him also saying that one of the 2 times I met Abby was at Pat Westfall's house. And
which we don't know if that happened or not, right?
Right. Pat Westfall, I mean, off the record on Sleuth Intuition interview, said that didn't
happen. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I obviously have poor discernment when it comes to trusting people, but I didn't feel like Pat Westfall was like.
It didn't feel like, yeah, he really.
It felt like he was kind of like this guy. I don't know.
Happened.
Yeah.
It was such a shocking thing to say, to go from I've never met her to I met her twice, once at Pat Westfall's house. Like, Oh, okay.
Courtney, Holder was not there today, correct?
No, not that. No,
Correct.
I
He
didn't
was
see him.
not. Okay. So you mean Brad Rosie when you say Brad?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I believe
Oh,
you.
I was yeah, the lady attorney who I've been calling.
We're just gonna call it.
I've been calling her Augur. And Goal was really nice for her. She was, could you please clarify how to pronounce your name? I'm not sure if I have it right.
Did she?
So like OJ is the pronunciation. OJ.
OJ. Got it. Not how we were saying it all. I just started calling her. Her name's Jennifer, right?
Yeah. It's like saying bougie OJ. OJ. Yeah, I mean, she went up there and she was great. She really laid out 2 clear issues they have with the motion to compel. That's organization and timeliness, or 2 separate issues that are causing us a world of pain.
Right.
And I mean,
Well,
she gave very specific, detailed examples. And Nick said, I've done everything I can to spoon feed them locations of things they are looking for. We did their job for them. Giving us a deadline of 7 days isn't working with us. And I mean, and OJ is very clearly describing how they receive things. She said, there's some dumps that are thousands and thousands and thousands of documents in a single hard drive or a dump, and they're literally all labeled with just like a code of numbers. Like there's no description, there's no folders they're sorted in. She's like, we need an index. When we get discovery or anything that's been given, it's like we need an index of like the contents of what is in here.
Right. Like how are they even going through like
their own
how do
stuff?
they know what they have? How do they even know what they have in evidence?
And that's what Nick kept saying. He's saying, we hand it over in the exact same way that we have it.
That's terrifying.
And I'm like, what? Like, how do you find anything? How do you find interviews from 2017? How do you find, witnesses? Like it literally anything. When every file is just scanned in with a like an auto-generated Google Drive, number or something. Like when you upload documents to Google Drive, it just gives it like a blah, blah, blah.
Like when I like my desktop and my yeah.
Yeah, if it's not already labeled when you upload it, it just gives it like a number assignment. So like that's what they have on basically 25 terabytes of data. Can you imagine?
No.
I've done everything I can to spoon feed them the locations. They're asking for ridiculous things. They want a workaround. They want us to organize everything for them.
Are most like long-term, like lengthy investigations into homicides, like do most of them accumulate this much evidence? I feel like no, right? They can't. There's no way.
Yeah, I would think that when there's like a seemingly motiveless murder of children in the woods, like, and you just kind of have a blank canvas to work with of suspects, that you're going to acquire a lot of stuff.
Right.
Nick says we've done everything possible to make their job easier.
That's scary because maybe they have. Maybe they've really done everything within their capacity.
OJ says that's simply not true, that they gave everything. She said we're missing gray key extractions, Celebrate stuff that wasn't disclosed for a year. She said this isn't our data, it's theirs. It should be presented with document names.
Yeah, this is a good point. Like, I mean, there's people that literally just do this as their job. They just log and maintain and index evidence. So obviously we know that Carroll County
That's
Sheriff's
true.
Department. Thank you, DB. So do you think that a department as small as Carroll County, like this would be why you would probably want another agency to help you, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I still can't make sense of that. I mean, by all accounts and all these people involved, it seems like they actually did have so many agencies helping, right?
But like,
Helping.
right, helping, but they weren't in control of. They never at any point
Yeah,
like
it's
turned over
hard.
the keys.
It's
Ever.
hard to like put your finger on. Like, I don't think there was ever any kind of um like scope of work. Like, I don't think anything was ever like in a contract or on paper that this is what I do, this is what we do, this is my square, this is your square. And
Well,
it feels like everybody was just stepping on everybody's toes.
I just don't think that the core of the task force, I think that they kept all of those agencies and all of those experts at arm's length. I don't think it was for any nefarious reason. I think it was just ego and greed, which I guess is nefarious. But like, I don't think that they really had anybody. Like, I don't think anybody but the core task force at any point had access to all of the stuff, all of the information, all of the evidence. Like, no fucking way.
Yeah, like, how did anybody ever look at this as, you know, a complete picture?
I have no idea. I don't know.
And the last thing, I don't know if you caught it, after we came, so there's like a 1 hour lunch break,
Yeah.
which is not even out. By the time you gather up all your stuff, you get outside. I go, you know, I didn't even go eat. I went and got a Red Bull and some Band-Aids for my blistery toes.
What are you gonna do? Do you bring other shoes?
Yeah, I got more shoes. I got Band-Aids. I'm fine. I got Band-Aids. As soon as they came back from lunch, it was about to start, you know, a different hearing, and it was about to start the motion to dismiss hearing, and Nick pipes up. He says, "Before we do that, I noticed a few things were kind of ad-libbed in the motion to compel. I'd like to admit a few exhibits." And he gives 2 exhibits to the judge.
Fucking ad-libbed.
A supplemental report from Vito, that had an attachment in it, which was something OJ pointed out she didn't have, and a discovery receipt signed January 30th, the day the attorneys were reinstated. And I missed what it was, but that was also some sort of receipt that they gave them something OJ said they couldn't find or didn't have anywhere. And
Something they said that, and she said, "Well, thank you. It only took your lunch break, right?"
Yeah, she's like super kind that you could find that on your lunch break.
Because she was suggesting that he said he couldn't find it for the months leading up to
Sure, I'm
the
sure
discovery
she
deadline,
spent
right?
I'm sure she has spent countless hours of her life looking for it. I'm sure she has specifically asked people, "Can you help me find this? Do you know what it's labeled as? Did you give it to me? I can't find it. Have you not given it to me?" And I'm sure she's like probably been trying to chase these things down. And then he just like whipped it out over, you know, lunch tacos.
You don't want to whip it out in court, so you got to do it
Yeah.
over lunch.
So, yeah. And then at the end of the day, there was some whispering, like counsel was talking to the judge, and it was hard. Like, people were like trying to read lips and figure out what they were talking about. But it seems like there was some mention of a woman tomorrow. Something about a woman in tomorrow. I'm assuming it's Dr. Walla. I don't know. So on the agenda tomorrow is motion to suppress. Motion to suppress. Um, incriminating statements made under coercion or, while in solitary, and then also motion to suppress statements made in his second interview. So Nick asked if they happen to finish those early, which I don't know if they will, but if they happen to finish those early, move to the motion in limine if there's time. But
On Wednesday.
we know for sure two suppression motions are on the table.
And then Thursday, nothing?
I guess Thursday will be motion in limine if it needs to be started or finished from Wednesday.
He's
And
like, I just want to get this over with, please, God.
I feel like there's something else that maybe not.
Let's see.
There's 10 motions, and some of them were just responses or objections.
So motion for admissibility, which is the we don't want you to. No, that's not the motion in limine. What is the motion for admissibility? I have to pull it up. It is request pretrial ruling on the Okay, so this is the Indiana Code 2533 the privileged communication between psychologists and clients. So I wonder if this would be part of the motion to suppress tomorrow.
Yeah, I would think that would go hand in hand.
Yeah. That'll be interesting because Phoebe was kind of talking earlier about that specific code that Nick is kind of banking on, and it will just be very interesting to see how it's interpreted and applied here because I don't know. It's a unique situation.
Mm-hmm.
And motion to suppress second statement, you already said. Motion to suppress all of his statements while in DOC, motion to compel and motion for sanctions, vacate safekeeping order, motion in limine, response to motion to dismiss, second motion to dismiss, and that's it.
That's it. That's all.
Man. You're amazing, Courtney. Thank you so much.
I think Bob's going to be going live here sometime soon too.
Cool.
Going through his stuff, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure his interpretation of a lot of this is just, different from the legal standpoint. Yeah, y'all talk about Rick and the families. There's a ton of Libby's family were there. I didn't even know who all of them were. I don't remember seeing Anna. I don't know if she was there, but I think the Erskines, the grandparents, were.
Yeah, they usually go to everything, I think.
Carrie was there. And then of course, for Rick, Janice and Kathy.
You said they were in good spirits, right?
Yeah, the whole time. I mean, they were laughing, smiling. I saw a lot of people just walk up and, pay them the respect of just showing sympathy for them as well, which I think gets forgotten a lot. So I did see several people just walk up, pat them on the shoulder, ask them how they're doing. Tell them Rick looks good. Y'all doing okay. Just, it was nice, regardless of what you think, his wife and mom don't deserve to be ostracized.
Yeah.
I did know, when he first came in, he was just very he was just scanning the room, looking around, looked a little, he almost looked a little like he had some swagger to him. He looked in, he looked towards me where we were sitting, and then he looked at the very back of the room, and he stared hard at the very back of the room, and that's where all the cops were sitting. And then you could tell he was just scanning around looking for his wife, and then he sees her sitting there on the end of the aisle and just kind of looks at her and does a long eye contact with his wife and just kind of gives her a little nod. And then he sits down, and I was like, well, he looks great. His weight was good, his color looked good. Like everybody has said, he is so tiny in person.
What did his eyes look like? Did they look evil?
No, not at all.
I can just tell from looking in his eyes.
I can just tell.
He's a
Uh,
monster. Look at his eyes.
Once he sat down, I just kind of was watching, just wanted to see like his affect, what he was doing. And at first I got kind of like worried. I just noticed him just kind of making some strange like movements. Like he was um like he had headphones in. Like his head was kind of bobbing a little bit.
Hmm.
And then he just kept like looking straight up at the ceiling and like doing this.
Oh, so he didn't make eye contact with everybody and proclaim his innocence?
No. But he like, I mean, he was like just staring at the ceiling, just kind of just had an unnatural like positioning about his head and neck. Like it wasn't just somebody gazing up.
Oh, that's not good.
Well, no, and I just kind of like poked Bob and I was like, what is it like? Is he on meds? Like this isn't normal. And Bob reminded me that like Courtney, like he is so sensory deprived. Like, do you know? And then it like all my memories came flooding back to me of reading everything about Damien Eccles and what he said after being in solitary for so long, and about how like the sunlight and just like everything is so bright and so loud and so overwhelming whenever you come out of that for a little while.
Yeah.
Because you're just, typically in a windowless concrete cell in solitary, which is what he's been in for practically 2 years. I don't really know what the situation at Wabash is like, but I know at Westville it was like a cinder block, 4 walls with a slit in the metal door and no window. And like that was his sensory experience for over a year.
Well, I have heard people getting out of prison just saying that they're overwhelmed by the colors.
Yeah.
And so being in solitary confinement for so long and seeing gray and black and white and just like no
Well,
colors.
do you know what was on the ceiling?
A mural, isn't there, or something?
It's a stained glass skylight.
Yeah, that was probably trippy as fuck.
I'm sure it was just like, holy shit, just like sunlight and color. Like it was probably like, I don't mean to infantize him or act like he's like a child full of wonder, but I mean, none of us really know what it's like to be that overstimulated or be that like sensory deprived.
No, you have to be reintroduced to it. It's like you're almost experiencing everything for the first time. You have to be reintroduced to I mean, think about even just COVID, right? That very short period of time that we were isolated from each other, not even, sensory deprived. And it's taken a toll on people and it's been really hard for them to reintegrate. And now imagine being,
Yeah. But I mean, he was good. I mean, Kathy and Janice were just in good spirits throughout the entire hearing. So obviously whatever they were seeing was not concerning to them. His attorneys were passing him papers that he was signing the whole time. So I mean, yeah, he was by all means like completely coherent and actively listening and participating to everything being said. He just kind of, you could tell he was just kind of like kept like just looking around like, whoa.
yeah. Tomorrow will be interesting court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I originally thought because Liggett kept talking about an affidavit from Schroeder, the sheriff of Cass County, where he's trying to get him moved, and something in my head, and then they handed him the affidavit from Schroeder, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is the KMS letter that came in that was sealed or something.
Yeah, probably.
But because that's the S initial, but no, his name is Ed, so I don't think that was right.
Something.
Yeah. And yes, I saw one of Travis's questions earlier. Yes, everything was taken under advisement. She didn't seem to give any indication on when she's going to be ruling, but yeah, I guess she does have up to 30 days to rule on any of these things.
I think it's 90 court.
Oh, maybe.
Like it's normally 30. Well, that's just what I learned earlier. I think it's usually 30, but if it's taken under advisement, then it's 90.
That's until she has a lazy judge motion issue.
Right. Which, yeah, because 90 days from now is October. So. Oh, Agent Cecil. So he was I think the first person that they questioned or that they had on the stand, right, Courtney?
Cecil was not there today.
Oh.
He did. Licking my fingers, things gonna be covered in saliva.
All right.
God. Cecil is a phone guy, I think.
Yeah.
Cecil in 2019. In 2019, he did a 12-page summary of a new phone extraction. I think this was always referencing Libby's phone, is the impression I got, but I'm not sure if it was ever actually clarified. At his deposition, he said he's preparing a report on one done a few days prior. So yeah, the defense was frustrated about this because they scheduled Cecil for a deposition. Everybody knew it was coming up. Apparently, he had just done a new phone extraction like 2 or 3 days before his deposition and didn't have it in a report yet. So they go conduct this deposition based on the 2019 extraction he did.
Hmm.
They still do not have the report of the one he did a couple of days before his deposition.
They still don't have it like today?
Yeah. So that was like part of the motion to compel, like, give us this
Gotcha.
shit. He's like, for example, timeliness. We had a deposition scheduled. He did a brand new, fresh, funky extraction a couple of days prior. Nobody told us that. We would have rescheduled the deposition until after he got that report back if we knew that.
I don't like this comment, but do you know if he had his vest on today, Court? Could you tell? I know it looks.
No, he didn't.
No. Sorry.
He did not.
He didn't?
No, because I remember there was like weird scribbling on the back of his, like there was some sort of like Sharpie marker tag on the back of his like orange scrubs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was like as restrained as he normally is. Like I don't remember all the.
He had one hand free to sign, right? So that's different.
Yeah, I don't remember him, and like maybe they even uncuffed him whenever he was sitting down. I don't remember from where I was sitting. I couldn't see.
Yeah, that's good.
I remember I didn't like really hear him coming in. Like I was expecting to hear like the haunted house chains.
Yeah, his shackles like clanking, clamoring. Right.
No, like it seemed a lot lighter.
Oh, so
How hot was the guy that escorted him?
So hot. Crazy.
You gotta no, we're not gonna find him. We don't do that.
There's him, and there was the one that was doing the security gates operating. He had to he's like step over here, put your arms out.
You were
like, tomorrow I'm stuffing all my pockets with pennies.
You're such a creep. I love it. Oh my god. Oh my god. Stupid.
I wasn't the only one. A couple of girls from there were like, "Hey, did you see the guy at the security line?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I did."
She's like, "Frisk me." That's interesting. Good for Carroll County.
Yeah, you got some thirst traps working for them.
So, are you tired?
Yeah. I only slept for like 3 hours last night. And I need to go get something to eat soon. I haven't eaten today.
Eat soup. You're in Indiana.
Yeah.
I was gonna tell you to get some fun soup, but you're in Indiana, so
yeah.
Okay. Well,
so tomorrow they're starting at 9, which is good because the doors opened at 8, and then we had to like literally sit there for 2 hours, which turned into 3 because Goal was almost an hour late. So tomorrow the doors open at I guess 8, and then we only have until 9 for the hearing to start, which is great news.
Do they close at noon tomorrow? Because I know the courthouse closes at noon, but there was some.
No, we figured out that they're not. Like they'll keep going.
Excellent. Very good.
Yeah, they'll blow straight past it.
Good. Okay. Well, is there any other thoughts, feelings, closing arguments?
I seen you mention Gray Key. Did they talk about that at all? The software?
They did not. The only other time I've seen it mentioned was in the contempt hearing about something with Westerman's phone, but why don't you explain it?
A Gray Key is an anti-encryption device, so it would be used to get somebody's phone unlocked. That doesn't give you the password.
And apparently that can take like years. Is that right? This seems ridiculous. It can take years.
Yeah.
That's wild.
What would they use that for here?
The FBI in the court? Not that I know of. I don't know who everybody was, but none that were identified at least.
Yeah, that's why I asked about the Gray Key. I think it's strange. And
Yeah.
like, do they have the software to use it? Like, does the defense even have the software? Like
No idea.
to look at the encrypted data if they were to export it, like it'd have to be in a report that's accessible for the defense.
Yeah, I have no idea.
In the Karen Reed trial, they used, or the case, they used Gray Key to unlock her phone.
I don't.
Who would they have used it on this case? Anybody that they had the cell phone for that they wanted to get information out of, then maybe perhaps it was locked and they were running from the cops.
Well, I think if I recall, this was something OJ said they were missing. They were still missing, like part of the motion to compel, like get us this shit now. And I don't know what it was in reference to.
Oh, they didn't start that Discord in the first place, brother.
That's a good point. I don't even know how to do that if I wanted to.
To do what?
But Tony asked, y'all think you'll start a new Discord? And I shook my head like a loon and said, never. Never again. Maybe, I don't know. Not me. Not me, babe.
Yeah, OJ said it's simply not true they were given anything. And I think the Gray Key extraction and Celebrate stuff, if I recall, she was just kind of referencing, like, maybe not like a victim phone, but just something along the investigation, like something they were needing or wanting from some suspect, maybe.
Yeah, Gray Key has other stuff that it does, but that's usually what it's known for.
The
So,
Gray Key extraction, yeah. So yeah, I don't know whose it was for.
And to answer T, I don't want to accuse any YouTube creators. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, I get it. I know who you. Okay, that makes sense. Interesting. Hi, All Eyes.
Okay, yeah, that does sound familiar now. Defense, don't think they even knew what software to ask for until they saw it in a motion or something. Yeah, that does sound familiar. They tried to open something and realized they couldn't, and they need certain software to open a piece of discovery.
Hmm. So no bombshells today, Courtney, or
Yeah, I mean, nothing that just like knocked my tits off.
tits intact.
Couldn't even get that out without laughing.
Tits are intact.
Let me try it again. Yeah, nothing blew my tits off today, but
Damn.
there was like plenty of just interesting tidbits. Just certain things said, people that surprised me. We've never heard from Murphy before. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
it was just, it was good conversation, where I was going into it just feeling so nervous that Goal was going to be like extra mad at them from the recent attempt to get them kicked off. Like, it was just going to be very, very contentious and snarky, and worried we weren't going to get to hear everything people wanted to say because it was going to get chopped short. Just kind of worried this was a hearing, just to be like, okay, I did a hearing, are you happy? But then, like, just make it worthless. But it was really productive. Everybody got to talk pretty much
Yeah.
as much as they wanted to. They got to say everything they wanted to say. Very few objections. Goal didn't, get snappy with anybody. It was all really good overall. Yeah, the Holman getting mad at Murphy was probably the what in the world? That was kind of the biggest thing. Like, he's like, my man, trying to give him a hug. He hasn't seen him in years. He's like, what the fuck is this?
What the fuck? He's a hothead. I want to talk about Holman soon. He's a hothead. He's got he makes poor decisions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Holman.
Seems like you wouldn't want to do that in front of the defense attorneys.
I don't think he can help himself.
Maybe he
Michael.
forgot about it. Maybe he just didn't care about it. Who knows? Who knows why he was mad about it?
Well, probably because they didn't anticipate a lot of this being discovered, this discovery.
True that.
He is a dump truck.
All right, guys. Well, I am going to go find some food.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing me on.
Thanks for your notes.
Yeah, I'm gonna see.
Do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if Bob. Yeah, we'll do it again tomorrow. I'm gonna see if Bob's doing the thing. Maybe I'll watch him while I get something to eat. He was like, I don't know if I have court TV gigs lined up or law.
I was really wondering what Court TV would have to say about this,
Like, he had to check all his bookings and see if anybody had confirmed with him to bring him on. But I'm sure he'll be going live eventually if he's not already.
I think he did. He might again. Ow. Oh. I'm sure he will again. I'm gonna go. I gotta go walk. I have a problem.
Again.
I have a problem. Yeah, he's being a problem. But thank you, Courtney. Thank you, DB. Thank you,
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Everyone's been saying thank you, ladies or gals and DB. You could just throw me in the gals when I'm out. Just say thanks, gals.
He's progressive.
Thanks, gals.
He's one of the gals. Thanks, gals. Thank you, everybody. We will see you all again tomorrow.
All right, bye.
Bye. Bye.